What is going on, NPL fans? My name is NoPunIntended, and welcome to the Pick'em Show for Week 3 of the National Pokeball League Majors. If you guys enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like or a comment on it. I'm sure I and everyone in the NPL would appreciate it. Now, every team in the NPL has played 2 games to this point, so we're getting a much clearer picture as to how well these teams are going to perform on a week-to-week basis, and thus we can take their records and use that as a bit of a gauge to determine whether they'll win or lose this week, and I do appreciate that. But since we're talking about previous weeks, we might as well discuss how well everyone did in Week 2. Once again, the fans blew the analysts out of the water, picking 6 of 8 games correctly, and while I am the best performing analyst through the first 2 weeks, that's not really saying much considering that the average watcher of the National Pokeball League Majors is doing much better than me at Pick'ems. But seriously, well done everyone. You guys really know your National Pokeball League. However, you might be a bit disappointed to know that for Week 3, we are completely starting over. Mainly because of all the new analysts that are starting Pick'ems this week. So, yeah, just consider that preseason. You guys have won that, and now we're going to get a completely fresh slate, and everyone's going to start at 0-0 again. But let's get into our 8 matchups for this week. The first game we're going to talk about is the Houston Toxapexians and Trev taking on the LA Nidokings and Danza. It's sure to be full of memes, although most of them will happen before the battle even starts. Now, both these squads won in Week 2, but in different ways. The Toxapexians got lucky and won big, while the Nidokings got hacked like crazy, but still managed to hold on. The mon that stands out to me in this game is Danza's Tornadus Therian. It outspeeds all non-Scarfers Trev can potentially bring, and Trev's flying resists are his Mega Mawile and Pikachu. Yikes. You bring Hurricane and Heat Wave on Torn, and it becomes very clear that Trev will either over-prep to stop himself from getting swept, or just completely forget it exists and lose half his team. Also, I kind of felt bad for Danza after what happened to him in Week 2, so I'll give him a little gift here to raise his spirits a bit. Go get him, man. Now, our next game is between 2 teams that are looking to go get their first win of the season. We have Verd and the Tampa Bay Frogadiers taking on Donachie and his Cincinnati Slifer Reds. I'll say this about as nicely as I can. Verd's Mega Diancie really wipes the floor with the Slifer Reds. Yeah, I know Dan has a Mega Scizor, I can respect that, but Verd has so many options of counterplay. He can use Gliscor, Araquanid, Blaziken, heck, he can even use Marini. Plus, Dan's favorite move this season is Thunder Wave, but Mega Diancie isn't even affected by it thanks to Magic Bounce. So that means that Dan has to rely on Body Slam's 30% chance of paralysis to cripple it. So my odds of Dan winning this game are 30%. Also, Gengar is a thing, it has the same base speed as Mega Diancie, and Dan doesn't have any Ghost Resist besides Miltank, but how is that supposed to hit a Gengar? I guess Dan has to run Body Slam, Thunder Wave, Miltank, and because of Thunder Wave's 90% accuracy, the Slifer Red's win probability drops to 90% of 30%, which is 27. Either way, Verd is more likely to win based on my math. Even though Shaman can tank hits from non-setup Diancie and Circuitry and Araquanid, in my mind Dan needs much more bulk to handle the rampant offense all around the NPL Majors. Verd gets the victory. Game 3 is between Regulator's Los Angeles Clefable and Aster J's Montreal Habsols. So when it comes to a draft league, there's few specific kinds of mons you need that a lot of people have available to them on their roster. 2 of those types that teams don't often miss are Fire and Water types, which are the ones that Aster conveniently doesn't have. And this week, Greg's Scizor and Mega Charizard X are going to have a huge opportunity because of it. For Aster to take this game, he has to establish momentum. He's got a lot of it, and he has to throw Greg off balance in order to prevent mons like Landorus Therian and Mega Charizard X and Scizor from setting up. He might be forced to bring Silvally Water just to check them, but in my mind, Greg's team still matches up well against Aster's, and that's why I picked him. Although, considering I haven't picked Aster once this season, and yet he's won both his games, maybe that's a good thing for him. Another coach that has somewhat of a good thing going is Matty Brawlick. His LA Reshiram are facing off against the Newcastle Umbreon coached by Aberforth. Now, didn't I just get off last week saying how good of a matchup Azumarill has? Well, the second verse is the same as the first, I guess. Abe's best answer to Azu is Tapu Fini, although it better have Haze for a Belly Drum set, or I'll need to check it with Rose Raider Thunderous Therian. The other thing is that I don't know how Abe's bulk will hold up against the rest of Matty's offense either. Now, Narth will know this well if he were here, but I had a team with Mega Latios and Tapu Fini in Season 7 of the UPA, which is one of the first leagues I ever joined, and its worst matchups were against heavily offensive teams. And by the time I faced Nidoking, I'd really rather not discuss that in detail. Granted, I'd say Abe has more answers for Nidoking than I did, but I talked about the idea of half offense, half defense teams versus bounce teams last week, and I will almost always take the half and half team. I do bleed Reshiram Navy, but as I've proven, that's not the only reason I chose Los Angeles to win. However, it only made my decision to lock the Reshirams that much easier. But let's move on to the battle between Gypsy's unbeaten Sydney Sharpedos and David's winless FC Poplio. One thing that both of these teams have in spades is bulk. Fat, stolly bulk. So this game will likely drag out for a long time. The good news for the Poplio is that their team likely won't have much trouble surviving single attacks, as Gypsy's team doesn't have a lot of immediate power available outside of Mega Medicham. I mentioned last week that Skarmory was in a position where it couldn't check half of Rob's team, but I don't think the same thing is going to happen here. David has quite a few more defensive options at his disposal to block Gypsy's offense. Decidueye is actually a sneaky good bring here, as Gypsy doesn't have a lot of ways to super effectively hit a dual grass ghost type, and Decidueye can break past Quagsire even without setting up, while avoiding King Shield drops from Aegislash, whether it runs a physical or a special set. So that's cool. Unfortunately, I just think Gypsy's team is more well balanced. I do like Gypsy's Clefable in this game. He can choose between an offensive or a defensive set, and it will do its job well either way. And Gypsy just has the better track record in the NPL, not just for this season, but for seasons past as well, which is the main reason I picked the Sharpedos. Anyway, let's get to one of the most exciting games of the day, at least in my opinion. Adams Houston Soul Rockets and Merck's San Francisco Reggie Giants. One thing that both Houston and San Francisco have in spades is bulk. Fat, stolly bulk. Feels like there's an echo in here. The difference is that both these teams have really strong offense too. Now, I took the Reggie Giants this week because I think Adam doesn't really have the best switch-ins to a Tapu Lele. When your best answers are mons like Klefki and Hippowdon, you have to really devote a ton of resources to handle it. Also, I question how Adam is going to deal with Umbreon because Klefki can't consistently damage it. Mega Lopunny has to worry about Protect if it wants to high jump kick, and its other fighting stab isn't the strongest in the world. Let it be known, in my opinion, Umbreon is a stupid Pokemon to face off against. But yeah, both coaches have been consistently solid, but I like Merck's team matchup slightly more here. The next game that I'm going to discuss is the Gotham City Golurks and Rob Jr. taking on the Phoenix Sunkern and Cheeseboy628. The schedule has not been kind to Cheese this season. He's had to take on Maddie and Adam in successive weeks, and that's a tall order for anyone in this league. Now he's scheduled to play Rob. I am truly sorry, Cheese. Can I get you like a cookie or something? Now, to the actual game. While I think Kieran Black can break down most sets that Rob can bring, the thing about the Golurks roster is that each mon has some level of offensive and defensive flexibility. And I know that sounds strange when you're talking about a team whose first two picks are Excadrill and Weavile, and they don't have many coverage moves available to them, but I'm talking more about the spreads they can run. One of the reasons I love Rob's regen core is that Tangrowth and Slowbro can both run either a physically or specially defensive set, which means that they can be EV'd to survive hits from many kinds of threats. And when you look at Cheese's team, many of his mons, like Jirachi, Tapu Bulu, Volcanion, get checked by at least one of those two mons. And a lot of the mons that Volk and Bulu have the ability to OHKO will get a hit off on them first. So while this isn't that big of a mismatch, I trust Rob to win more based on the fact he hasn't lost and Cheese hasn't found a victory yet. And to wrap up Week 3 of the Pick'ems, we'll be talking about the battle between Blake's Baltimore Braviaries and Ace's Anaheim Altarias. There's a lot of alliteration with that sentence. But I think this is one of those games where Ace can have Mega Gallade impose its will on Blake's team. One of the things that makes Mega Gallade so scary to prep for is that very few mons can reliably check it, and even though Blake is a Mew, the fact that Mega Gallade is on Ace's side means that Mew has to be a more defensive Will-O-Wisp set to check it. Now, if that happens, then Ace has quite a few good special attackers on his side to punish that moveset. While Mew is known for being able to do pretty much anything, it can't handle doing everything at the same time. So if it runs that physically defensive set, it can't punish mons like Latias and Togekiss very well. The 4-move slot syndrome is real. In addition, Blake's defensive mons that are around 11, 12, 13 points don't get reliable recovery, but Ace's mons like Latias and Togekiss do, and they still have some decent power on their side. So the way I see it, Ace will be better able to keep his cores at healthy levels as he chips Blake down and takes the win. But tomorrow we'll see if I'm right or not. But for now, that does it for week 3. Thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like or a comment on the video if you enjoyed it and you want to give your picks for this week of games. Make sure to check out the channel links for all of our NPL coaches in the description, both majors and minors, and subscribe to the NPL channel to see future analyst vids. Some of them will even be from myself. But my name is NoPunIntended. I want to thank you all for watching, and until I see you next time, take care.